Welcome to LIfePatch, your motivational voice. Before we start, take a moment to just let go of all of life's noises, distractions, if it's with work, family, obligations of such, because this time, this moment, it's your time. Today's topic will be on do what's hard and it will set your life apart. Let me say it again. Do what's hard and it will set your life apart. The obvious here is if you do the easy things, simply put, it's easy to do the easy things. For example, it's easy to whine, complain, criticize, to hate. It requires no education, no certification whatsoever, no training to whine, to hate, to criticize, and so forth. All that takes is somebody with a mouth. And easy, anybody can do easy. One of the easiest things to do is to justify yourself to not do something, to not start on something that deep down inside you know it's good for you and or for your loved ones. It's easy to pretend that things are harder than they really are, or to pretend that these certain issues don't exist. And then sometimes we just do a lockdown and just block the whole world. It's easy to get distracted, to get sidetracked. These are easy things, but they won't let you move forward and grow forward in the direction that you need unless you face and deal with it. And again, if you do what's hard, it will set your life apart. Now let's talk about that more. Doing what's hard. It's hard to think. Thinking itself, it's a process. It requires effort. Now, writing a plan to get you from point A to point B, and then from point B to point C, and so forth and so forth. That is not easy. That's hard. Two of the hardest steps usually are the first step of just starting it, and then finishing. For example, some people can start writing a book, but finishing it's hard. Many can start college, but finishing college, it's hard. The perseverance and so forth. It is hard, especially when you are doing something different than anything you have ever done before, different than any of your family and friends that they have done. For example, are you the first to graduate from high school, from college, from graduate school? Are you the first to start a business, to write a book within your circle of friends and family? That's hard. And the list goes on and on. And for some, they may be in a family of doctors of generations, but instead, they want to be a teacher or a park ranger. And the resistance, it's real, it's there. But allow that resistance to be your persistence, to push you. Let your dreams come alive in the moment of fear, in the moment of anguish. All of that from the surface that seems like dark energy and dark feelings. The point is, it still is energy. And what successful people have in common is they turn their depression, they turn their disappointment, the point of failure, embarrassment, and they refunnel that and re-exert that as fuel to fire them up to push them forward, to drive them ahead, to make that extra mile and finish it. Allow the resistance to be your persistence. All these things that are pushing against you, allow them to push you towards your goal. For example, when someone says, "You don't have money, why are you starting a business?" Perhaps that's the exact reason why you should start a business, is to have money. But if you stay where you are doing the same things, you're likely going to get the same results. Another common example: I'm not smart, I don't have the skills, so that's why I did not go to college. I'm not smart enough. Perhaps then, for that same reason, you should go to college to get more educated, to be smarter per se. So instead of making excuses to not do something, use and make that excuse to actually drive you forward, to actually push you. I'll share with you a personal story. I'm a refugee. I came here when I was about 5 years old with my family. My parents have no formal education. I have no connections at that time with any published writer or author, and my major wasn't in English. So obviously my first language is not English. And yet I had this dream as a kid to be an author. And later on in my early 20s, I made that jump and I said, I'm going to write my first novel. As I was writing my first novel, the resistance came from all corners, such as from strangers and people who know me. And some of these voices would say, and they would question, why are you writing a book? Your major is not English, your major is in this or in that. And then some people would say, why are you writing a book when, do you know somebody who's written a book before? And this and that and so forth. And that ate me, consumed me early on. But then I realized that's more reason why I need to complete and write this book. So then later on, when people say, why are you writing this book? Your major isn't in English, you don't know anybody, you don't have any connections. And my simple response would be, that's why I'm writing a book, so I can become a better writer, so that I can become better in English and so forth. If you wait until you're the master of something, you will never get there. Let me say that again. If you wait until you're the master of something, you will never get there. Every master starts as a student. And every great master will carry the mindset of a student, and that is to continuously improve and continuously learn. Now, a part of approaching and handling and dealing with doing hard things comes with training your mind, and training your mind on a regular basis. Like physical exercise, so many of us make the effort to go to the gym twice, 3 to 4 times a week, some more. As we know, the activity is important, which is doing weights, exercising. But the other half of the coin here is the intake, your diet. How is your diet? If you're exercising 3 to 5 times a week, but if you're eating pork chops and fatty food, it's a tough journey, even tougher than you anticipated. So the intake is extremely vital and important. So for your mind, what is your intake? And some of this intake, for example, can be reading books on a regular basis, and healthy, selective books that will help train you in the skills, in the resources, in the knowledge that fits and complements your visions, your passions. Another method is to listen to positive and motivational audio or tapes on a regular, consistent basis. It's like somebody who's been exercising physically for years and then all of a sudden takes 6 months off. It's tough. The very first month they don't exercise, they feel extremely sluggish and so forth and heavy, and then it's even harder at times to get back to where they had left off. So with your mind, train your mind on a regular basis. What's your intake? Listen to positive motivational audio. Sometimes even the same ones over and over, and you might pick up something different. Let me tell you, some of my favorite speakers are Les Brown, Eric Thomas, and Tony Robbins. These guys are amazing. They've lived it, and they continue to talk it. Search them up on YouTube, online. These guys are amazing. Trust me. They're not paying me to talk about them. I'm being genuine with you. You can search on YouTube and listen to their tapes, their audio. Because if you're not, and if you're listening to news, most of what's on the news today are negative, poisonous programming. So be very selective with what comes into your mind and what stays there. Guard your mind. Guard your mind. You own it. Nobody else does. Let me tell you a story, and I'll wrap up today's track. So once upon a time, there was an orphan who everyone frowned upon. He was labeled, he was cursed. It got to the point where it was so bad, he decided he's gonna run away. So one evening, he just dashes out into the forest and he runs, continues to just keep on running. And then finally, this forest opens up to this hill. And on top of the hill, the orphan sees this big, huge house, almost like a castle, perched on a hill. With really nothing to lose and no more fear, the orphan just runs up to the big house and he knocks on the door. No one answers. He knocks again and again. He knocks again, louder and louder. Finally, the door opens. A man in a black suit, the butler, opens the door, greets him, looks at him from head to toe, and stops. Then the butler says, "My master doesn't welcome anyone unannounced." He closes the door, slams it against the orphan. The orphan knocks on the door again. And the orphan is desperate, saying, "Please, please, can I just ask him one question? Just one question." Nothing happens, right? So the orphan, persistent is he at this time, knocks and knocks. And then the door opens. This time, a different man opens the door. And he notices this young man in shattered clothing with holes in his pants, shirts with no buttons on. Then he notices the dirt that's on this orphan, even having a few scars on his cheeks. The man sighs, looks at the orphan, and says, "So, if I heard you right, sounds like you have a question, young man. The orphan clears his throat and then jumps into his question. What's the secret, sir? The secret? The man rubs his gray beard. He looks at the young man there once more. And then he pushes the door wider and he says, "Come inside. Follow me." The man takes him to his dining room, and there the man says, "Sit." The man points to this chair next to a large table and then sits across the table from him. Looks at him again. The man says, "Well, looks like you haven't eaten in days, but today I'm not going to feed you. That's on your own." This orphan now, of course, he's shaking inside. The man pushes the table aside and looks behind him and says, "Look behind me." You know, the orphan was so scared at this point, he didn't pay attention, but now he realizes that behind where the man was sitting was this giant, magnificent, detailed painting of a beautiful home. And this beautiful home was perched on a hill. So of course the orphan says, "Oh, sir, that's a beautiful painting of your house." The man simply replied, "This house here, it was built 10 years ago. This painting was done 25 years ago." The orphan pauses. Then the man hits the table. "Well, young man, what do you want on your table?" The orphan immediately says, "Do you have chicken?" The man smiles and shakes his head. "I'm not giving you any food today. You asked for the secret. Now listen. Aside from your wife, one day when you marry her, you and her will be one. The question is, aside from your significant other, who are the 4 individuals that you spend the most time with? Yes, these 4 individuals, they are your legs. The way they talk, the way they live, and the way they think will be a mirror of you, and you a mirror of them. If you want to hold gold and silver, bags of them, you must have a strong table and even stronger legs." The orphan this time leans back, looks at the thick oak legs of this table. Then the man finally says, "Lastly," he points up, "tell me what you see up there." The orphan replies, "A chandelier?" The man said, "Last thing is, young man, you must always respect that of something that is above you, that is greater than you, that is out of your control." That is the story. So 3 quick takeaways. The painting behind the man of this castle-like house. The painting there depicts the importance of having a vision. You must see it in your mind before in the flesh. Whatever the hard thing you are doing, you must see it first in your mind so often, so regularly, that eventually it must and it will take your flesh, your body there. The second point, you are who you hang with. If you hang around with people who cuss, chances are you're going to cuss. If you hang around with people who talk about finance and investments, chances are you're going to as well. Now, we've heard of stories about these lottery winners and how they win 100 million, but then they eventually end up being in debt $150 million. And how is that possible? Again, weak table, weak legs cannot sustain the added weight, the weight. Third point is respect and appreciate your creator. Respect your parents, God, the master of the universe, the things that are outside of your control. Leave that to the greater that's above you, that's beyond you. So do what's hard and it will set your life apart. Wherever and whenever you are going through a tough time, if it's at work, at home, with family, friends, or just struggling within your own dreams and goals of trying to get closer to them and making them a reality, is to break it down. Break it down. There's a saying that goes, inch by inch, life is a cinch. Yard by yard, life is hard. Inch by inch, life is a cinch. Yard by yard, life is hard. So don't try to do everything in 1 month or in 2 months. Take it one step at a time. Take it 1 inch at a time. And the inches will become yards, and the yards will become miles. And you, over time, this effort will accomplish this great distance. So until next time, stay blessed, stay hungry, and don't ever give up.